across the World Wide Web, on your mobile devices, on social media platforms. This is Jambo Radio! www.jamboradio.co.uk. We are multilingual. We are conversational in the languages you best understand. We are Jambo Radio! Jambo Radio, inspiring transformation.
Good afternoon or good evening. Welcome back to Jambo Radio. You're with me on Love on the Stereo. My name is Holly. I'm your host tonight, and I'm over from Swipe Right HQ. We are Scotland's premier dating premier dating agency for the Afro-Caribbean community. So if you were listening last week, you'll know that I wasn't available because the common cold tried to take me down, but I'm stronger, I'm back, I'm bigger, I'm badder. So we're back at it again. So welcome back. And you're listening to Jambo Radio. It's available on DAB in Glasgow and in Edinburgh. You can also download the Jambo Radio app over on Jambo Radio Scotland app from the Apple Store and on Google Play. You can also watch the show live on Facebook, thanks Mark, and at the YouTube channel of Jambo Radio Scotland. And if you want to join the conversation tonight, you can call directly on the studio on 0141 530 2787. You can also send us a WhatsApp message on 0745 990 6822. It's going to be a great show. We've got a guest, so do take this number down because I'm sure some of you would want to take part in that. And if you are on social media, you can also message us on Facebook at Jambo Radio Scotland, or to my love gurus at Swipe Right HQ, or on X, formerly Twitter, we are at Jambo Radio 1, and on Instagram we are jamboradio.scotland, or you can follow myself and my team at swiperight.hq. You can also email us at info@jamboradio.co.uk, or directly to me at hq.swiperight@gmail.com. So thank you again for joining us on Jambo Radio, and with me, Love on the Stereo with Holly. So tonight is a happy Friday indeed. I mean, yes, it's happy because the weekend is upon us. You know what it is. Here in the UK, we live for the weekend. I'm sure even other places you live for the weekend. I hope you're living even during the week, but you know what I mean. But today's an especially special day because it's International Women's Day. And if you don't know what that is, it's a global celebration where we honor and celebrate women's achievements from all walks of life. But it's really not just about cheering. It's also a day where we can discuss topics like gender equality and the challenges women still face today. And we celebrate all the amazing things that women have accomplished while acknowledging all the work that's to be done. So even if it's like, you know, from female scientists to female entrepreneurs to just, you know, your mom or your sister who does something for you, I hope you can take some time today to celebrate them. And what a way to do that today on Jambo Radio than with our special guest, Delhi Singah. Hi, Delhi. So Delhi is joining me tonight as a special guest for International Women's Day, and she is a female powerhouse. She is an author, a humanitarian, and a relationship coach with so much more under her sleeve. And from her work promoting social initiatives to her awesome projects like the Receive Sense movement and the Cultural Identity Crusade, these have all made waves, not just in her native Cameroon, but all across Africa. We're honoured to have you tonight and learn some lessons from your brilliant book, I Do, I Don't, Journeying into Matrimony. I actually have a copy with me and I've managed to read it as well, so that's really exciting. And I hope that everyone listening today will not only just celebrate you as a trailblazing woman, but also just take the lessons that you've distilled down into this, and hopefully we can distract that because I know that we don't have much time. So I'll try and be as succinct as possible. So Delhi Singah, welcome to the show. Good evening. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much, Holly. It's such an honor for me to be part of this show and to have an intellectual conversation with you. So I'm looking forward to it. And hello to everyone listening to us. I'm wishing every woman, especially, a happy International Women's Day. So let's do this.
Absolutely. So, how have you celebrated today, or in the past? What's the one thing that you remember having done for this specific day?
I am not. I would say I am not the fan of the frenzy that happens out there when it comes to
Oh,
this day. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. In Cameroon, I would say it's characterized by women going out to celebrate, and of course
okay,
having the what we locally call kaba. So it's the
okay.
fabric that, yeah, and we put on. We celebrate, hang out with other women,
Mhm,
dance, jolly, party, and all whatnot. I have hardly had that,
mhm,
for personal reasons, and of course sometimes you just want to have a quiet moment and celebrate, quote unquote, at home. So
mhm.
if it's about how it's used to be, it's always been the same for me. But
Okay.
I say I understand how the setup is always so, and
Mhm.
I know a lot of women are out there partying and enjoying. So very few will be listening to me right now. Right.
Well, I mean, but we can't say that. Do you know what I mean? It could be even a celebration could be sitting, taking some time for yourself as a woman today, just to have a cup of tea and check in with yourself. That's a celebration. You know, we don't have to dress up, visit in Kaaba, and go out in the streets and party to celebrate ourselves. But you're right. I can understand that. So yeah,
Right.
again, worry about the time. So I want to get right into it and use you as much as possible. And I hope our guests are listening. Again, you can call into the show if you want to. You know, this is your one chance to speak with Delhi tonight. So take advantage of that. You can call us on 0141 530 2787, or if you have any questions, do message us on WhatsApp as well. So Delhi, if you can tell myself again, I've read a bit about your book. I've of course read into you online, but tell the guests a little about yourself. How could you describe yourself without telling us that you're an author?
I guess I just have to put this book up here without telling you that I'm an author. And
Nice.
yeah, maybe send this up as well so you see the name, and of course you can link that name to this beautiful face on your screen.
Mm.
I didn't grow up being an author. I would not say that, I wear many hats, and it's a lot of
Mm.
things I've done in the media. And I think I always say that writing a book is more of me trying to rest from all of the hurdles in the media. And I'm like, okay, let me get
Mm.
a go-to place where people who bring their concerns to me can run to it. So, and that's why I
Yeah.
became an author. I never saw myself as being an author. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean, it is one of those things that come with life. So yeah, this is one of them for me, and it's been an exciting journey. Yeah, so I'm happy that I wear that crown now. Hmm.
Amazing. And I mean, if this is your first book to go out to this amount, isn't it? So do you
Right,
think
it is.
that it's you've got the bug now? Like if you say that you didn't set out to become an author, now you've written the first book, do you feel like the juices are flowing and there could be something in the waters again for us?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for every author listening to me right now, you would attest to the fact that when you're writing, there's such a thing as the leftovers, more like scraps, and you put in a basket, or
Mm.
besides, like when you're building a house, there's some bricks and all of that have raw materials that you keep by the side. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
you write in your next book, I think it comes handy because I mean, you have learned your lessons, you
Mm-hmm.
know how to cut the T's and dot the I's. So your next book, I think, is pretty much an easy ride.
Amazing.
Having written this book, I have three more books in the pipeline. Yeah,
Wow.
that
You heard it here first.
stem from this. Yeah, already. So you see what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is just to take that one leap of faith, and then the rest would fall in place. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great inspiration. So, about this book, then, what inspired you to write a book about journeying into matrimony, and what do you hope that readers will take away from it?
Oh, great. I've been in the media 14 years and counting. So, and
Mm-hmm.
I have been big on relationships and talking on relationships. And I've
Mm-hmm.
had a plethora of relationship concerns brought to me
Okay.
by Cameroonians, Africans at large. And yeah, I've had them share their stories, their innermost secrets. I've had them, I mean, do all manner, brought these concerns to my table, and
Mm-hmm.
I figured, I'm getting old, Holly. I am. How about me
What? 31 is
putting
nothing.
me?
Come on, you're a young babe.
So I'm thinking, how about me putting something down in writing where they would not necessarily call my phone, but I'll just run there more like a portal. You see, I was also inspired by the number of divorce cases in and around the world, and especially because, of course, when we're talking, we talk give and we can reference a particular demographic. For those in the West, I would just say that 4 out of 10 marriages the break. That's an alarming
That's a
rate
lot.
for an institution which is dubbed divine as marriage. So I had the concerns, and I started thinking, as a relationship coach and somebody who has dealt with a lot of people, and I keep having these concerns every day. What do I do? What is my own 1% that I can put in the world to salvage the situation? And I thought
That's
of
a great
putting
mindset.
down all of it in writing. So yeah, then we got this book. I don't know if I answered your question, but
You
that's
did.
it.
No, I think maybe to round that up, I would emphasize again. What would you like readers to take away from it specifically?
What would
Like
I like readers
when
to
you
take
were
away?
when you were writing this, you thought, if they read this whole thing and they walk away, I want this to stick with them. What would you think that is?
I want readers to understand relationships and marriages will thrive when we start functioning on principles, and not just I love you and you love me and all whatnot.
You heard
And
it
like I
here.
said,
She
having
said,
been in a
"Love is not
relationship,
enough."
love is not enough. Oh yes, that's it. I mean, I underscored that in this book severally.
Yeah.
If you read along, you would see that. So I think we've underscored the not the less important aspects of relationships. And I say that relationships, when you talk about principles are universal. Principles are timely or fundamental truths that everybody needs to know before you delve into matrimony. And I thought putting them down in writing would go a long ways, which of course I did. And so if my goal is for you to read and function or build your relationships based on principles and not just the erotic love that we try to underscore most often.
Amazing. Thanks for that. And so I guess I'm starting with these questions just to get to know you a little bit more before we talk about the book itself. So I wonder if you could
Right.
share with us just as a small, maybe 30 seconds, a personal anecdote about what influenced you and your perspective on relationships and marriage.
Like I said, well, if it's personal, I've talked about me being a coach on social media and having dealt with a plethora of cases and loads of people. And of course, there's a part of my own journey that is embedded in this book, which I love for people to know. It's a lot of people always like to, I want to know about you, I want to know about your story. However, I just like, it was just a tip of it. I didn't put myself into it because I understand that um the relationships is sort of broad spectrum. I can't limit it to my experiences. I can't limit it to a few persons. It has to be based on principles, and by so doing, every other person would relate to whatever I'm writing. So that's why I wrote just a bit of. I would just give maybe examples of some things that happened to me, and I insist that these are things that happened to me based on my experiences, my exposure, my culture, my background, and my setup. You see what I mean? Because I'm talking to a vast audience like that. But hey, I did. I've had my fair share of heartbreaks as well growing up. I mean, we all, don't we?
Praise God.
I've had my fair share of it. I've been in love, out of love. I've been confused at some point, and I found my way at some, and yeah, it's a combination of all of these stories put together that I mean, I had to share with you. But like I said,
Yeah.
don't expect anything more from my very boring personal experiences. Anyways, I
Yeah,
would
and I
love
think
for
as
people to
well,
go home with the principles more. Yeah,
yeah, I think that the principles are important because, as you say, they're shaped on not just your personal experience, but all these other people who've come to you over years. And I think that
right.
it's important to highlight just how much the school of life can teach you outside of just, someone maybe who's gone to study about relationships. You've had people work with you on a one-to-one basis. So you're actually distilling this knowledge from something you've seen in real life happen to someone. So that's really great. And guys, again, I've read this book, so I hope that you guys can all get involved. So for our listeners today, Deli, how can they connect with you if they do, you speak about you've worked with couples. Is that something you still do? Where can they connect with you from, or even where can they get this book from?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry about that because had a bit of a glitch there. Where can they get me? On Amazon, first of all. Yeah, you get on Amazon, you just type I Do, I Don't by Deli Singah. I don't know if that's showing clearly on the screen.
Yeah, I can see it.
I
Yeah.
Do, I Don't by Deli Singah. And of course, you can grab yourself a copy. For those in Africa, we have different outlets where we get these books on there. But I think a majority of those listening to me, they're good with Amazon, so it's fine. You can also get on my website, which is www.delisingah.org, and get it and place an order. When you place from my website, I get to autograph your copy. If you place on Amazon, unfortunately, so you see the difference. But hey, grab a copy. You should grab a copy, right?
Absolutely. And with your work as a relationship coach, is that something you still do? Can people connect with you in that way?
Oh, it most definitely. On my website, there is an angle where you click to get private counseling, one-on-one with myself, and yeah, the details are there, and you can just follow suit. Yeah.
Amazing. And listeners of this show, you will know that I'm always an advocate of, if you're in love or you're not in love, I always say get expert help, and we've got one on the line right now. So if you're out there listening, you're thinking, oh, this heartbreak, oh, this marriage, whatever it is, there's someone here that is offering actual real life help. So get on that website and get into it. So before we deep dive into your book, it is International Women's Day after all. So I thought we could talk a little bit about maybe how your book impacts women specifically. So I guess my first question is, as we celebrate the achievements and progress of women around the world, how do you see your book, I Do, I Don't, contributing to the kind of ongoing conversation about women's empowerment and equality?
I love that question. I bless me. I think as a you made a statement that they can connect to a relationship expert. I pride myself as a student of relationship, not an expert.
Okay.
One that is
very humble.
Constantly learning. Yeah, I'm constantly learning. I mean, you get to a level and you realize you've not started, in all honesty and fairness. You see what I mean? So yeah, I'm always learning. So let me say a student teacher, if that works. You see what I mean?
Yeah,
so yeah. Talking about relationship and how my book empowers women, especially on a day like this. If you've gone through, which of course I presume you have, I started off with, and I call it the most important chapter of this book, which is chapter 1. It is a date with self. A date with self. It's all about you. It's not limited to. Because the book is not gender biased. I'm talking to both men and women.
Yeah.
However, this question is channeled. I would gravitate towards the woman while answering. Now, a date with self underscores the important aspect of oneself that you've got to know before even getting to having a date with another person. When you get to date yourself, it's all about empowering yourself.
Yep.
I don't really believe in equality per se, because we're hardly equal like that in a sense. And I can break that down later on. I believe in equity.
Yeah.
Whereby we factor in our weaknesses, we factor in our strengths, our vulnerabilities, and all of that.
Absolutely.
Because if we are all equal, you realize that you would be equal to a baby, and that would mean we can all get on the same mark and do a race together. That's equality if we're looking at it. But if you're looking at equity, we'll factor in the fact that these children are still crawling. And so based on their vulnerabilities, their weaknesses, and their strengths, and based on ours, yours, and mine, we put that all together and we can have I would say, reasonable outcome. Yep. So yeah, this book, there's a part of it, especially chapter 1, that talks to us, women especially, to get to know, be in tune with yourself as a woman. Know your strengths, understand your weaknesses, your vulnerabilities, know the things you can do. Be in tune with yourself. Get the best version of you. Because like I said, being a student a student teacher of relationship, every day is a learning curve. Every day is a learning process. And so the more you know you do not know. So you get
Yeah.
to empower yourself like that. And before you graduate into saying I do to move to the next chapter, you must have been so in tune with yourself to the point where you know what you're in for.
Yep.
Because choosing somebody to be with you is as important as choosing yourself. You can hardly make an informed choice without knowing who you are. And I bet you, Holly,
That's
it's
a
a lot
great
of us
point.
out there who, yeah, it's a lot of us out there and out here who don't know who we are. But we want to find ourselves in relationships. We want people to compliment us. We want people to tell us who we are. We want people to discover our purpose for us. We want people to discover our spiritual path for us. We want people to get world creation ideas for us. We want people to do these things. And I'm saying it starts with you. If you can have a relationship with God, your maker, that spiritual balance, if you can discover your purpose and you're basking in it and running with it, if you can know how to make money and not just money, wealth creation, if you understand biology and yourself and all of that, and a lot of things I underscored in chapter 1, then you can then say I do and move to chapter 2, which talks now about getting to know other people. So that in itself to me is enough empowerment. That to me is enough, because at the end of the day, most of these things are not thought. We just get into a relationship and just hoping to filled by the other person. So you want to find happiness in the other person. You want the person to choose you, whereas you've not found yourself, you've not chosen yourself, you don't even like
Yeah.
yourself. You see what I mean? So I think this book underscores every aspect about empowerment, and I was intentional about that. So yeah,
That's such a great answer. You had so many great points in there, and I do want to keep jumping in. But I think one of the things that you said there was about how important it is to know yourself before you seek someone else, because you can almost make someone responsible for your happiness because you're not happy. You think, oh, my partner will bring me happiness. And there was another point you made about, seeking other people to, find your spirituality from other people, find X and X and X from other people. But how can that be possible if you yourself, you're lost? You'll be led down the garden path. And I think, especially for women, African women, there is a kind of societal expectation for marriage. So you might just think, oh, it's destined for me, without even thinking, what kind of marriage do I want? What kind of person do I want? You just think, I want marriage, And I think this book will let everyone know that, it's not just about, at least the world will see that I'm married. It has to be deeper than that. So that's a really good point.
Excellent.
Absolutely. So in your opinion, I guess, this is about a book, this is about women as well. What role can literature play in challenging those traditional gender roles, particularly concerning women's roles in relationship and marriage? Because I think traditionally African women, there's one way to be married, but how do you think that reading about something like this, so if, for example, someone could say, why do I need to read about marriage? My mum was married, my grandmother was married. So how do you think reading about these kinds of topics challenges those kind of stereotypes?
I did address that, I think, in chapter 4 or so. Yeah, should be in chapter 4. Now, understand, you want to be sure.
Sorry, just to interrupt you, these questions are based on your book, so I'm trying to get the readers to get a taster of what they can find out.
Right. So I was just about saying, you want to be sure I'm not a very traditional person, before we get to start challenging some traditional values there.
Yeah.
Now, let me say this. I am a very traditional person. Of course, I have a touch of modernism, of modernity. But I believe, and I could be wrong on this, that marriage is really more traditional than it is a modern thing. And why do I say this? Because it transcends generations. It's not your idea. It's not my idea. Marriage is originally God's idea. And if you're listening to me, of course, you might differ with me if you are not a very religious person or a spiritual person like that. But you see, there's always an origin from somewhere, and I believe that marriage is not man's idea, it is God's idea. And if it's God's idea, then there is a manual for it. God must have definitely given a pathway to that. There is no how a manufacturer will get a car and you don't have a manufacturer's guide. They would always tell you this is how to go about it. And this is the
I
same
hope you're
thing
all
with
listening.
marriage. Yeah, it's the same thing with marriage. So, what is God's idea of marriage? It's not man's own. What is His original intent for marriage? And like I said, you might read and realize that after all, it's all traditional. You see what I mean? So I'm just saying, before we get to debunk some things, or before we get to say, okay, we want to change these trajectories and implement ours, or say what our perspectives are, we want to look at whose idea it was originally, just so we understand. Again, I'm of the school of thought that the idea of roles in marriage is not a problem. It is not a problem. Again, I talked about equity. Now, if you handle life in general, or let's zoom it on marriage, on the institution of marriage, and you want to take it um, 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 in a chunk of uh, equality, I think we, especially as women, and all of you listening to me, will be doing ourselves a disservice. Because come to think of it, we are not equal after all. What is equality? It just means one is equal to one, but one
It's a
cannot be equal to
buzzword.
two. You see what I mean? Like I said, I think sometimes we use these words and we don't sit to think or ponder on them. And like I said, we've done ourselves a disservice for too long. And last Women's Day, and I was talking about it, they came about the team for equity, and I was like, now we get it. Now we are doing ourselves a service by understanding that we complement each other. We are beautiful and unique. Without a man, you are complete. Without a woman, you are complete. Now we come together to complement each other, to compensate for our lapses, and also to see how we can work together. You see that synergy come together. Now we cannot. There, it is pointless, Holly, to want to come together if you and I are just the same. So what's the point? What's exactly the point? If you and I can say the same things, do the same thing, we can act the same, we know the same things, it's pointless. You might as well just sit there and do your thing and sit here and do my thing. You see what I mean? But when we come together, you're coming together to, like I said, to synergize your strengths, your weaknesses with mine, and we come out powerfully. You see what I mean? And this is
Yeah.
how marriage is. So if there are no roles and responsibilities, Socrates says something. Um, Man, we are nothing but savages without rules, without responsibilities, and without barricades. You see what I mean? I was just paraphrasing. So there should be rules, roles, and responsibilities in marriage. And I'm of the school of thought again that as much as there are things that we are all complete and expected to do some things, there are some things about life in general that are more masculine and more feminine. I take that over. There are some aspects about life that require a more masculine energy or a more feminine energy. And you and I can attest to that. Yes. We look at the roads, the schools, the houses, the world literally have been built by men. And there's no gainsay about that. And it's beautiful. It now becomes a disservice on a woman when we are meant to do the same things as the men. Meanwhile, we're not wired the same. You think about that. It is sheer disservice to the men as well, the male gender, when they're expected to do some things. Have you seen men walking on heels?
Yes.
Have you watched them? Have you seen a man just carry a fake pregnancy for hours? Because they are not wired to do that. Naturally, they're not. You see what I mean? That's why I said I'm going to be bursting a lot of bubbles, because a lot of people think marriage is a more modern thing we can put on, and that's why it's failing. I started off talking about the statistics that inspired me to talk about this, to write this book, because if all of what we're doing is working, why are we divorcing every now and then? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's something we're missing out on. And then again, I'm drawing everybody to the drawing board. Like, can we go back to the manufacturer's guide? What is God's idea of marriage? And when we begin to get that, we realize God is all about principles. And it is not about you being religious. It's about you fulfilling principles. And that is why somebody who is not a Christian would take those same principles and have a flourishing relationship, flourishing marriage, compared to somebody who is every day praying and fasting in church. You see what I mean? So that's why I'm going back to the drawing board, which is based on principles. So again, this is Women's Day, and I'm saying it is good to celebrate your femininity. I say women become lost and vulnerable when we lose touch of our femininity, because
Yeah.
that's your beauty. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's okay when you're vulnerable in that. I think men listening to me would love a feminine woman. You see, now there could be a touch of masculine energy every now and then, because you don't want a woman who is always so dependent, who is always so vulnerable, who never has an idea of her own, a mind of her own. However, when you become too full of that, it saps you off and it drains you of your feminine energy. And then you become equal now to a man. You see what I'm talking about? And that's now a turn off to the men. That's why I say when we start talking about equality, it is a disservice to the woman, especially. Yeah.
Wow. I actually should have asked everyone to bring a notebook and a pen because so much fire was happening there. I was like, wow. That's a fantastic answer.
You would have to stop me, okay, at some point, because I don't have a problem with talking. I think I have a problem with when to stop talking. So you want to stop
no,
me
that
when you
is,
have to stop me.
trust me, that is not a problem for me. That's how I found myself with this radio show. I just love to talk. But what a fantastic answer, honestly. And off the cuff, I feel like you are perhaps, as you said, you never set out to be an author, but I think that you were destined to kind of go down this path, because what you just said there, and that's just off your head, I can only imagine what you can put down on paper is amazing. So guys, if you want to join the conversation, you can call the studio directly on 0141 530-2787, or you can even WhatsApp us, leave a voice note for Delhi here tonight on 0745 990 6822. And if you are on social media, you can send us a message on Facebook, Jambo Radio Scotland, or on Twitter at Jambo Radio 1, or you can email us at info@jamboradio.co.uk or hq.swiperight@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram, so you can kind of follow Delhi on Instagram as well if you want any more of these hot topics that she's dropping tonight. And it's at jamboradio.scotland or swiperight.hq. So thank you so much for, all of those amazing answers. We're finally going to get into your book. I promised that I would get into the book, but you've just been amazing. I've not been able to get there yet, but we're here now. So your book delves into the importance of self-discovery before entering matrimony. And I think you touched on that a little bit more as well, but can you share exactly why you believe this is crucial and how it sets up a foundation for a healthy relationship?
Right. I think that, like I said, no one should, the right word is should, because people can know you better than you know yourself, but it shouldn't be like that. Now, no one should know you better than you know yourself. You see what I mean? No one should love you better than you love yourself. No one should understand you better than you understand yourself.
True.
And while I was writing this book, I think, because I'd written chapter 1, written chapter 2, 3, and then I went to chapter 7 because I had more like a sketch of what exactly, more like a sketch of what I wanted. Then I got to a point and I said, I had to scrap chapter 1, and I thought it starts with self. Yeah, it starts with you. You're the most important person in the equation, just so you know that. And you cannot go empty-handed. You should go grounded. You see what I'm talking about?
Amazing.
I've had a lot of persons come to me for counseling, and I realize they're so void of everything they want from the other person. Want somebody who is intelligent, but they're void of it. I want somebody who is beautiful, and permit me say they're void of it, because that's controversial. You see what I mean? I want somebody who is neat and smells good, but they're void of it. They're nothing. Yeah, you see what I mean? So I thought the best way to empower the world is to empower oneself. And as much as it sounds cliche, it is very much true. And I thought a lot of young stars, especially, they're interested in what every other person has to give. We are in a world and a dispensation which is always playing the victim. oh, this relationship did not work because of the other person. Oh, this relationship did not work because I did all of what I did. And when you start asking or you start having a genuine conversation with these people, you realize it is them, but every other person. You see what I mean? And so I thought,
Do you tell them that in that
I
counseling
do,
session? Will you be
I'm
like,
very,
you're the problem?
I am a very strict counselor, and that's one of the
Oh,
things that I'm known for in the media. So you
amazing.
want to get ready because I realize we pamper people into their doom. You see what I mean? It's a
That's a
lot
good
of people
point.
who come to counseling that they have an expectation of what they want you to tell them. Unfortunately, I'm not the conventional counselor who says that, oh, um, it's okay to have a dirty hair, and it's okay, they should take
Be
you
who
for
you
who you
are.
are, don't worry, it's not
Yeah.
your problem. Your hair is shabby, you don't look kempt, and it's okay. People should learn to admit that
Oh.
this is who you are, and you cannot change that. I know, I tell you,
Mm.
you don't smell right at this point in time, and it's a turn off for the other person. And as much as this is a very sensitive issue, a lot of people will not tell you, but this is what you need to know, because at the end of the day, if we do not face the elephant in the room, you would keep recycling the same errors over and over and over,
That's a
and
great
making the
point.
same mistakes. And before you know it, every man is the same. You've heard such things. All men are the same.
Yep.
All men are, well, quote unquote. All men are, quote unquote. All women are this and that. Why?
Yep.
Because we keep making choices. We keep recycling the same errors and expecting different outcomes. And
Amazing.
so I'm that counselor, like I said, who would tell you that based on these and all of what you've told me, I think this is the issue. And I'll be frank with you. And this is why I would say considerably a lot of people, I think I made a mark in the media, and especially on counseling, with my own style, not the very conventional one. So I get to tell people like that. And I realized when you're honest with people, it might not score you a lot of love, a
That's
pass mark
true.
on love. However, it's a matter of time. It only takes time. And they realized that it might have been a bitter pill, but that was exactly what they needed to heal whatever ailment they had. You see
Yeah.
what I mean? So I am a firm believer of accepting, taking responsibility. It takes two to tango. And there's no how you get into a relationship with somebody and there's no beautiful aspect about that person. Because a
Yeah.
lot of people, and especially women, I mean, I'm a woman, so I know how much of the victim card we play. You see what I
Yeah.
mean? So when we just start
Speak for
crying,
yourself. I'm
when
perfect.
it's
I
when
don't
people
know.
come for counseling, I'll just be like, when people just come for counseling and be like, they start crying. Oh, I'm like, I wait you cry, you dry your tears, and then we can have a good conversation. Because when we jinx the conversation with emotions, we miss out on exactly what you're here for. You see
Yeah.
what I mean? And so I try to explain to them, it starts with you. Sometimes they are literally the victims. But hey, if in as much as you are the victim, there might be something you are not doing to yourself, or there's a course you did not graduate in, and that's why I keep underscoring in chapter one. That might be the reason. You see what I mean? Yeah, you might have come out from a domestic abusive marriage. You might have been literally the victim. But again, that could be a pointer to the fact that you all stayed that long because you were void of self-love. How about that? You see what I mean? And that's why I say it takes two to tango, meaning that, and as much as some other person was bad, there was a point where that person had done one or two things that were positive. Now,
Yeah.
when we begin to look at ourselves, within ourselves, you might have been the victim, but also an enabler to that attitude or that aspect of that person.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And these are the basic things that I try to underscore, especially in chapter one of this. Because,
Yeah.
like I said, you can read just chapter one and you're done, and you'll be like, I don't. I'm not moving
I
to the next
don't.
chapter. You know what? I don't, as it is
I'm
right
not
now.
ready to
So
hear
you see
this,
the
as you
title of
said.
the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, yes,
No,
yes. So,
those are all really great points, and I think that even on this show, we talk about self-reflection, and I think that point of you in your counseling style, you hold up the mirror to people and you say to them, "Look at yourself. You know, you're asking for this, but can you provide that?" And I think exactly what you said is correct, because how can you be asking for your husband or your wife to love you like this, but you don't even know how you should be loved? It
Exactly.
almost doesn't, it's going to equal failure, absolutely. So it's funny that you said you tell them exactly that they're the problem, because I think more often these days there is no self-reflection. I think people can go through their whole life without taking a moment to be like, why am I like this? Why do I think like that? Why do I want that? You just kind of coast and coast and coast, and nobody ever stops you. And maybe you go to a therapist that will just affirm your point of view, because they won't just say, deal with the problem. They'll be like, it's who you are. It's who you are. So
Exactly.
yeah, I think we need more
Exactly.
delis in the counseling space. Absolutely.
When I started off my counseling in the media, because I was doing open counseling, people would bring their cases to me. My platform is Delhi's Matchups and Counseling Services. And people brought their stuff to me, and I'll counsel in the open, and people would see it, though I would make their cases anonymous, so you don't know who is talking.
Yeah, of course.
More
Yeah.
like platforms like Quora, like that. So they would bring their cases, I put it up anonymously. And when I started off, I had a lot of backlash in the media. And like I said, we live in a dispensation where the word accountability is almost extinct. Everybody is not accountable. Most persons, I would say, they're not accountable for anything. We want to play the victim card always, and then we recycle the same problems. But then again, Delhi came and said, you know what, I'm the mirror. And you look at yourself in the mirror. Just like you said, I always tell people, look at yourself in the mirror. Sometimes we're just not honest, because at the end of the day, and then
It's
you
hard.
said
It's hard to
something-
be honest with yourself. Yeah.
But again, if you're not honest with yourself, who do you ever tell the truth to? You think about it. If you're not honest with yourself, so if you're not honest with yourself, I mean that's the worst thing you can do for yourself. And guess what? In chapter 3, which comes to, I think I've gone ahead, but I just want to underscore something. I had to talk about compatibility, and this is, like you said, which I of course attest to, the fact that we want things from other people that they cannot give to us. Now, sometimes it is not about just giving those things to, or getting the same thing, or reciprocity. There's such a thing as compatibility. I might not have something and you have it, and we complement each other, you see.
Yeah.
So that complementing each other goes a long way. So you might be void of something and I have that thing, and we come together and it's compatible. So I underscored the need of compatibility in marriages and relationships, which I think is losing its value. Now, again, at the beginning, we talked about love not being enough. And when I talk about love not being enough, I'm talking about erotic love, because we have different kinds of love.
Yeah.
But what this generation or this dispensation, they focus more on the erotic love, the butterflies, I love you, I can't go to sleep at night. It's there. And most people, because that is such a foundation to them, but unfortunately, it cannot be the foundation of your relationship. Oh, unfortunately. So I'm trying to say that the emotional compatibility, which is the erotic love again, which is the butterfly love, is I'm not disputing its place. It has its place, but it is not fundamental. You see what I mean? There are relationships which are even void of that, but they are thriving more than those who have just the erotic bit and they are void of a lot of other compatibilities. So I talk, for instance, about spiritual compatibility. You can meet somebody, Holly, I'm not sure about your relationship status, but let's just go
I'm
with the
married.
flow. You can meet somebody today and be like, oh, I love you. And the person is, I can't go to sleep, Holly. I see you. I see you. I see you. And you'll be like, I see them. I see them. But you fight every day. You're not sure what is happening, but I love you. So what's going on? We love each other. So that's why I was talking about love is not enough. It's a lot more. Now, I think I shouldn't say much, because you have to buy this book and read. So if I explain everything, what are you going to be buying then?
Please,
And what
guys,
are you going to be
honestly.
reading?
I mean, you can just see it's literally, it's been like half an hour, but you've barely touched the surface. Like, there's so much in this book that I've got so many questions. I'm scared now that the time's running away from me. I'm like, oh my gosh, we haven't got there. But everything you're saying is really important. And I think that one of the things you in chapter 1 about, self-discovery, I think we can talk about it in an intellectual way, but I think that sometimes, especially in Africa, we lack maybe the word. So if you don't have the word for something, you can't describe it. And if you can't describe it, you can't feel it, that sort of thing. So I guess what I'm saying is, when we talk about self-discovery and, learning to be yourself, what are some practical tips that you can offer women to be like, when I say discover yourself, when I say get to know yourself, this is what I mean, do this, because I think we're not empowered to do that so much. So practically, how can someone listening tonight be like, I want to know myself? What do you mean?
What do I mean by that? They should get this book and read. Holy, you're taking away my book from... You're taking away my sales already. People should get to...
Let's move on.
So, let's talk about... I'm a firm believer in purpose.
Sorry. There's 10 minutes left. I'm so sorry. I can't believe this has happened to me. But you're a great chap. But continue. Yeah, give it to me in 5 minutes so that we can wrap it up.
Okay, let me go chronologically, okay? I'm a firm believer in purpose. Yeah, I am.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about purpose. Now, you're listening to me. Once you have had the spiritual connect with somebody, so it starts with, how do I empower myself? Spiritual empowerment is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, empowerments an individual, men and women alike, can ever have. So get to empower yourself. How do you empower yourself spiritually? Have a connection with a divine being. Like I said, spirituality is different for every other person. However, it is a belief in a higher deity or power or whatever that is, yes, higher than self. So there should be something that is bigger than you, because if you are the end, then there's no point living. You see what I mean? Now, for me as a Christian, my spiritual connect is God, and for a Christian, it is Christ. And now I need to have a firm relationship with Jesus Christ as my Lord and personal Savior, knowing that I'm grounded in the spirit, in spiritual aspects, knowing that how do I empower myself spiritually? I can pray, I can take out time to fast, I can take out time to read the scripture, I can have a moment of solitude, I can just have a moment of listening to music, I can have a moment of watching nature and assessing the creation of God. That in itself would empower you spiritually. I did talk about purpose discovery. Now, if you're listening to me, you want to ask yourself why you were born. That's one of the most important questions you would ever get to ask yourself. Why am I here on earth? Purpose discovery. I did give hints on how to discover your purpose.
Yep.
Of course, you want to read this book and you would see it. So it's a lot of youths who want to take the 10th step before the first. I always say that purpose precedes marriage. If you get to discover who you are, your purpose, you realize it shortlists your suitors. It just curbs a lot of excesses, more like the things, these suitors that are coming, these ones are not suitors. I can't even start having a conversation with somebody whose values don't align with mine. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I talked about purpose discovery, and I want each and every one of you to go. And then I talked about financial empowerment. When I say this, I have a friend who loves to talk about money. So, and I insist that it's not just about financially empower yourself. It goes, wealth creation is even bigger. So you as a man or a woman, you want to be in tune with money, with wealth, and understand what it is before getting into relationship with people, and then you start crying every day, left, right, center. You want
because
to know
love
about
doesn't
that.
pay the rent.
Because love doesn't pay the rent. And these are practical guides that I'm saying. These are principles. And God is saying these are things you have to do. As much as you love yourself, you go die hungry. Like we say in our local parlance, you go die hungry. You see what I mean? And then I talked about there's empowering yourself educationally. You want to, it is not just about going to school. There's an formal and informal education. The wake of this digital millennium, where a lot of us can have access to the internet with everything on Google, YouTube, and all of these portals, that you can self-educate yourself. It's a lot of these things I said in chapter 1. I mean, I think I've spoken more than I should. I talked about
no such thing.
Self-affirmations. You want to be in tune with yourself. Self-affirmation. And I talked
actually,
about...
I've actually got this down here as my favorite part of the book was the affirmations, because I think it's even more pertinent for the African audience that's listening tonight, because I think for a lot of people growing up, we don't get affirmed. It's not really in
we don't get affirmed. You can say that again. You can say that
it's,
again.
it's
Yes.
it's it's not natural to us really, and it's even if you do something right, it's like it's expected. Do you know what I mean? Like, and if so,
Exactly.
does that one have two heads? Like there's the comparison, so you never learn to really like maybe appreciate yourself, or get to know yourself. So it's really important to recognize and value and like learn to believe in yourself, even when mistakes or challenges are coming to you, because it means when you get into a relationship, you can maybe give the other person the grace as well to be like, well, if
Right.
I make mistakes, surely the other person can make mistakes. But I think that African people, we really need to lean into learning to affirm ourselves. And I think it's a really my favorite part of your book. Honestly, I think people
I
should
love
read
that.
that and
I
get
love
into it.
that. Yeah. I love that. It's not a culture for us, and I
No.
thought it's about time we did this. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Deli, you've been an amazing guest tonight. I hope that everyone listening tonight will, the little things that you said, the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more in this book. It's I Do, I Don't, Journeying into Matrimony. You can find it on Amazon, and you can also reach out to Deli for her own personal touch, that look into the mirror counseling. None of this there, you'll be okay, be who you are. You're going in to meet Deli, and she's going to give it to you as you need it, because I think that you can fluff everything, but marriage is hopefully forever. So if you're going into, we call it a battle, maybe, you need to have the tools to get through life, because we said here before on the show that marriage is like two people coming together trying to live one life. Of course there's going to be friction. You need to learn how to work through the friction and make that work. So I think if you're out there and you're thinking, oh, I've done everything in my marriage, but there is that something, maybe as Deli was saying about compatibility, maybe maybe you are not compatible, but there's ways to work through that. And I think with someone like Deli, you can definitely do that. And even with a book like this, you can learn new ways of being together, even if that initial thing never worked out. This is not just for before you do or you don't. This is tools for past that stage as well. So I really hope you go out and get this book. And Deli, thank you so much for your time tonight. I know it's Friday, it's International Women's Day, you're a young babe, you could be out on the town, so thank you so much for giving us your Friday today. You've been an amazing guest, and thank you everyone for listening to Love on the Stereo on Jambo Radio. It's been with me, your host Holly. And Deli, if you have any last words for our listeners tonight, go ahead.
I really want to thank you, salute you all in the studio, Mr. George. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, everyone who's listened to me. I am really grateful that I had this opportunity to talk to us all, and I hope you learned something.
Absolutely.
Again, go grab a copy of this book, and we can continue with this conversation behind the scenes. God bless you all, and I'll see you around. God bless.
Okay.
Bye.
God bless. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to Jambo Radio. And it's me, Love on the Stereo with Holly. I hope to see you all back here next Friday at 6 p.m. Have a great weekend.